Many years ago, in the beautiful city of Lagos, there lived a couple who had every single thing that people dreamt of, from money to big cars to a beautiful house. Their names were Kunle and Amaka. People usually refer to them as the power couple because they were both very rich and successful. Kunle worked with a big tech company and was always busy with meetings and reports, while Amaka worked for an international company as their marketing manager. She always had her phone in her hand and her laptop on her lap. They worked from morning to night, even on weekends. They had two beautiful children named Tolu and Dara. Their children were well behaved, but they were always alone because their parents were too busy to spend time with them. Most days, the children would eat dinner alone, play alone, and sometimes would even sleep without seeing their parents. So one night, after a long day at work, Amaka sat in the parlor with her husband, tired and annoyed. Then she looked at him and said, Kunle, I think we need help. Oh. These children are growing up really fast without anybody watching them. We need someone to stay with them and watch them during the day. Amaka said, looking worried. Then Kule replied and said, I agree. I think we should get a housemaid that can stay in the house with them and help with everything. Someone young but firm, someone that can take care of them. Kunle replied. So the next day, Amaka called a maid agency in Lagos and they promised to send someone over to her that same day. So around 5 p.m. in the evening, their doorbell rang. It was a young girl that stood at their door. Her name was Chisom. She was beautiful and just 23 years of age. Good evening, ma. Chisom greeted her new Madam Amaka. Amaka looked at her. You're young, oh. Are you sure you know how to cook, clean, and do all that maids do? Amaka asked, looking worried. Yes, Mao. I know how to clean, cook, take care of children. As a matter of fact, I've worked in two houses before. Chisom replied with a smile on her face. Okay then, you can start today. But you will sleep in the boys' room next to the children so that you would hear them when they wake up. And please wake up early. You see, in this house, I don't tolerate laziness. Biko. Amaka replied, Yes, ma. Thank you, ma. Chisom replied excitedly. So that night, Chisom resumed her duty. She made sure that the children went to bed early and that the house was neat and everything was in order. So that night, the house was so calm. Kunle, Amaka's husband, came back from work. He was surprised to see everywhere quiet. Already, she has started working. Kunle asked, looking surprised. She's really good though. I'm surprised at the way she handled the children so professionally and firmly. Amaka replied. So they both smiled happily, thinking that they had made the right choice. So things continued like this for a while. At first, everything seemed perfect. Chisom would wake up very early. She would cook, clean, and make sure that the children looked very neat before school. She would even help Tolu with his homework and would pack Dara's lunch with extra fruit and juice. She did not talk much, but always smiled politely when Kunle or Amaka gave her instructions. She was well behaved and they liked her. Within days, Amaka was already telling everybody about this wonderful help that God had sent to her. How she was so perfect, so good, the best housemaid ever. She would look at her colleague at work and say, Finally, I have peace of mind. This my new maid there, she's perfect. My house is in order. The children are clean. I literally do not have anything to worry about anymore. Amaka would say very happily. But her children, Tulu and Dara, did not feel the same way that their mother felt about this new help, Chisom. Because one evening, while Kunle and Amaka were still at work, Tolu whispered to his sister Dara and said, Have you noticed that there's a way Chisom stares at us sometimes? And those are eyes, they look really scary. Tolu said, and Dara nodded. Yes, I noticed it. Her eyes look scary. And can you imagine, she locked me in the room yesterday. I told her I was hungry, and she said I should keep quiet before she would turn me into a rat. Rats! Dara replied, looking scared. What? Are you serious? We need to tell mommy you. Tolu said, staring in shock. But I told mommy. But mommy said I was just lying. Dara replied, already crying. Mommy just likes this girl too much. Because yesterday, when I told mommy that I saw Chisom in the kitchen talking to herself with a black powder in her hand, mommy said I'm just talking nonsense, that I've watched too much cartoon. Tolu replied. So that night, after the children went to bed, Chisom stood quietly in the corridor. She watched their door without blinking. Then slowly, she walked back to her small room beside theirs. She entered inside and locked it. Then she did something strange. She brought out a small black pot from under her bed and dropped a red feather inside it. Then smoke began to rise from the pot. Tolu, Dara, you will soon be mine. Ha 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 ha. They will never listen to you. Your parents will never protect you, but I will take you one by one. You are all mine. Chisom said as she smiled wickedly. Meanwhile, in the children's room, Dara suddenly woke up. She was crying. Tolu, Tolu, there's something in the room. And Tolu immediately jumped up. What is it? What is it? I heard someone laughing in my ear. I heard someone laughing in my ear. Dara said, crying. And so they hugged themselves tightly. Let's go and tell daddy. So they both ran to their parents' room, only to find it empty. Because Kunle, their father, had traveled for work that day. And Amaka was working late and had not yet come home at midnight. The children were so scared. They waited in the parlor, hoping that someone would come back home soon. But Amaka returned around 1 a.m. and saw her children sleeping in the parlor. She just shook her head and said, why didn't this one sleep in their room? Where is that girl? Where is Chisom? Amaka said. Then Tolu immediately woke up and said, Mommy, Chisom is scary. She laughs at night. She talks to herself, Mommy. Tolu said, looking scared. Amaka simply just frowned and said, Tolu, are you not too big for this nonsense? Enough with all these stories and go back to bed. Amaka replied, but mommy, come on, shut up and go back to bed. Amaka interjected quickly. So the children had no choice than to walk back to their room sadly. These children, imagination will not kill them. This is what happens when you allow children watch too many cartoons. Amaka said out loud as she headed for her room. What Amaka did not know was that Chisom, her housemaid, was busy whispering their names into the fire. She was calling her children and trying to initiate them into her satanic group. So in the days that followed, her children, Tolu and Dara, continued to live with fear. But to every other person in the house, life was normal. Chisom was still cooking delicious meals, she was still cleaning every corner of the house and was smiling sweetly and like a good person to her madam, Amaka, and her Oga, Kunle, whenever they came back home. But what they did not know was that things were getting worse, one day after the other. So one early morning, Tolu woke up. He was feeling very thirsty. So he got out of bed to head to the kitchen. But as he reached the hallway, he stopped. There was light coming out of Chisom's room, and her door was slightly open. So out of curiosity, he walked closer, then stared into her room. And to his surprise, he saw Chisom walking on the air. Her feet was not touching the ground. She was literally floating on the air. And immediately, Chisom turned to him and said, "What are you doing here? Why are you awake?" Tolu could not even speak. He just turned back and ran to his room, shaking with fear. He was so scared. So the following morning, he looked at his mother and said, "Mommy, I saw Chisom. She was floating. Her leg was not touching the floor." Tolu said, looking very scared. But Amaka, as usual, simply rolled her eyes and said, Tolu, please do not start again. You and your sister have been making up stories since this young lady came. This girl has been nothing but helpful. At least now there's so much order in the house. I don't have to worry about cooking and cleaning when I come back from work. What is all this? I cannot stay with you guys. So please, you should not make her life miserable. I don't want to hear this nonsense again. If not, I will seize your cartoon privileges. You will no longer watch TV in this house. Have you heard me? Amaka said, looking upset. But mommy, I'm telling you the truth. I'm not imagining things. This lady was floating like a witch. Tolu said, looking scared. Come on, shut up. I said that is enough. What is wrong with you, Kwan? Oh, you want me to resign and come and sit down with you, Abby? You had better mind yourself. This should be the first and last time I will hear that nonsense from your mouth. Amaka replied. Tolu was so sad. He did not know why his parents could not believe him. He was not imagining things. He was saying the truth. So later that day, Dara began coughing uncontrollably. It started as a joke, but before they knew what was happening, it became so bad. So her dad, Kunle, had to rush her to the hospital. The doctor ran all sorts of tests and checked her, but found nothing wrong. Sir, your daughter is perfectly fine, no? Maybe it's stress or something spiritual, the doctor said. Spiritual, okay. There's nothing spiritual, trust me. I'm sure she's just tired. Maybe if she rests and takes some vitamin C, she'll be just fine, Kunle replied as he waved it off. When they got back home, Chisom, the housemaid, was there waiting for them at the door with a big smile. Welcome, sir. Should I warm your food? Oh, no, thank you, Kunle replied. Please just make sure that my daughter, Dara, gets some rest and gets enough fruits today. Kunle replied. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Chisom said, smiling. But that night, Dara had a dream. In that dream, she saw Chisom sitting on top of her, holding a long black snake and whispering into her ear. There were even red candles all over her, and the walls were covered with blood, and Chisom's eyes was red and glowing. Dara immediately screamed and woke up. And lo and behold, Chisom ran to her room. It's okay, Chisom said as she touched Dara's forehead. It's just a dream. You're safe with me, Chisom replied wickedly. But Dara screamed and screamed at the top of her lungs. Leave me, go away from me, Dara screamed. But Chisom stepped back slowly and smiled and said, Oh, you do not want me to take care of you? Are you sure? Chisom replied. Dara kept on screaming, No, leave me. And at that point, her brother woke up and rushed to her side, holding her hand. Then he faced Chisom and said, Mommy and Daddy will hear about this. Leave us alone. Leave my sister alone. Leave me alone. Tolu shouted angrily at Chisom. Then Chisom's face suddenly changed. She became angry. Okay, tell them if you will, but they will not believe you. They will not believe you, Chisom said as she walked away angrily. So yet again, the next morning, the children told their father what happened. But Kunle simply frowned and said, Dara, it was just a dream. Chisom is not a monster. She's helping us. As a matter of fact, she was sent by God to us. If she was not with us, by now, I don't know what would have happened. Either me or your mom would have run mad. She helps us at home. Please, bear with her. Her father replied, But Daddy, Chisom scares me. She scares me. I don't want her to live with us. Me and Tolu, we can stay alone. We can stay alone when you are both at work. Please, Dara said, already at the verge of tears. But her father simply replied firmly and said, We have told you to both stop this nonsense. This girl is helping your mother and me, so stop making up lies against her. What is wrong with you children, eh? Kunle replied, getting upset. So yet again, their parents did not believe them, and they did not even suspect Chisom of being the cause of anything in their house. But the house was gradually changing, and they did not know it. So now their children did not even sleep anymore. They were always awake because they were scared that Chisom will come and kill them at night. They always whisper to themselves, holding their hands even while walking around the house, for fear that Chisom would do something to them. Yet their parents were not listening. They could not even see that their children were scared in their own house. So in just 2 weeks of Chisom's arrival, Tolu and Dara were no longer happy. They no longer smiled. They always complained of constant headaches. Dara was busy coughing all the time. They both had dark circles under their eyes. Their skin looked pale. They looked sick, as if something was draining life out of them. Yet their parents could not notice. Yes, their parents thought that they were sick because they were looking sick, and they took them to the hospital. But each time they went to the hospital, the test came back normal, so they didn't worry too much about it. The doctors kept on telling their parents that there was nothing physically wrong with them. And when the doctor asked whether they were eating well and sleeping well, Amaka would reply proudly and say, "We have a maid. She cooks and takes care of them, so I believe they should be fine." Amaka would answer quickly. But the doctor stared at her and said, "Madam, sometimes what a child needs is not just food and sleep. It is love and attention. Please pay attention to your children," the doctor said. But yet again, Amaka and Kunle did not take the doctor's advice seriously. One evening, while Amaka was away for a business meeting in Abuja, Kunle decided to take some days off and just stay at home with his children, seeing that his wife Amaka had traveled to Abuja. But throughout that day, Tolu refused to eat the food that Chisom cooked and gave him. He would always say, "I'm not hungry, I'm not hungry." Then Chisom would reply gently and say, "Habana, you have not eaten since morning. Try and eat something." Chisom would say, pretending to be nice. But Tolu was adamant. "I said I don't want to eat. I do not want." He screamed angrily at her. Then immediately, Chisom stared at him in anger and said, "You this boy, you are getting stubborn. No. Oh, you think because your daddy is around for a few days, you think that he will protect you, Abi? You had better be careful. You had better be careful." Chisom replied angrily. And Tolu, out of fear, ran straight to his room and locked the door. There was no need complaining to his father or reporting to him, because as usual, he would not believe him. So yet again, that night, when Tolu could not sleep because he was scared of Chisom, he just decided to look out through his window, and then he saw something terrifying. He saw Chisom at the backyard, surrounded with red candles. She sat in a circle drawn with white chalk, and her eyes were looking somehow. It was as though she was making some incantations and enchantments. Tolu immediately screamed and then closed the window. The following morning, he woke up having a very high fever, while his sister Dara was vomiting non-stop. Kunle, their father, was so scared. He didn't even know what to do. But these children were okay yesterday. What happened? Chisom, please boil water. Find medicine. You should let us go to the hospital. Kunle said as he walked about the house looking confused. But a few minutes later, and he had not yet seen Chisom, so he went to her room to call her, thinking that she had not heard his instructions when he told her to boil water. So immediately Kunle went to her room and opened the door. He didn't see her there. But to his uttermost shock, he saw strange drawings, symbols, written in white powder. He even saw feathers stuck to his walls, and a goat skull sitting under her bed in the room. What is all this? Kunle said, looking shocked. Then suddenly, he heard his son's voice crying out to him, "Daddy, Daddy, Dara is not breathing. She's not breathing." So Kunle immediately ran to their room. He saw Dara lying on the bed and looking as though she was at the point of death. By this time, Tolu was screaming and crying out her name. Kunle was so scared. He didn't know what to do. He just picked up his phone and called his wife. "Amaka, Amaka, you need to leave whatever you're doing in Abuja and come back home now. Something is wrong. Something is wrong in this house. What these children were saying is true. Something is wrong," Kunle said, looking very scared. So a few hours later, Amaka was back. She entered the house. She saw her children looking very sick. She saw all the drawings in Chisom's room. And then it dawned on her that all that her children had been saying this time was actually true. So she immediately called their pastor, Pastor Nathaniel. So a few hours later, Pastor Nathaniel arrived at night. As he entered the house, they all heard a very loud, angry cry coming from Chisom's room. But she was not even there. Nobody had seen her. Pastor Nathaniel simply looked around and said, this house is under heavy darkness. This your maid, though, she's not just ordinary. She's not an ordinary witch. She's the queen of the coast, Pastor Nathaniel said. And just as the words came out of his mouth, all the lights in their house suddenly went off, and the candles in Chisom's room lit themselves. Then immediately Chisom appeared. She was standing in the hallway. She was dressed in black, and by this time her eyes had turned fully white. Oh, you called a pastor? For who? For me? You did not need to. You left your children for me, so they now belong to me. So why are you calling a pastor? Chisom said, looking very upset. Then Pastor Nathaniel stepped forward and said, not today. You spirit of darkness, you have no power here. Then he began to pray in tongues, and the house began to shake like thunder had hit it. And Chisom screamed. She began to manifest all sorts of manifestations. But she kept on screaming and crying. You left them for me. You gave them to me. They are legally mine. They are legally mine. She screamed as she pointed to Amaka and Kunle. But Pastor Nathaniel kept on firing prayers, kept on praying and kabashing. And in a matter of seconds, Chisom fell to the ground. The candle lights went off, and then she disappeared. And then the normal light in the house came back. And when they looked around, they could not see her. Chisom was gone forever. No one ever saw her again. And for the first time in a long time, Tulu and Dara slept very peacefully. The following morning, when they woke up, they were so happy. They ran to their parents and hugged them. They already felt better. They had miraculously recovered from their sickness. Kunle, their father, pulled them very closely. He felt so guilty. He could not believe that he had almost lost his children, not because of poverty or because of sickness, but because him and his wife were too busy looking for money that they could not take care of their own children. Amaka at this point fell to her knees to beg her children and then said, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. We should have listened to you. You told me severally that this girl was a witch. But I did not believe you. I thought you were just making up stories because you did not want a housemaid to live with us. I'm so sorry. I promise you that going forward, I would never take your words carelessly. I would always believe what you tell me, Amaka said. Then Tolu smiled gently and looked at his mom and said, Mommy, we are glad that everything is over. We are just happy. But a few days later, Kunle got a call from his office and he was informed that he had lost his job, that they had decided to let him go. When Kunle got the news, at first he felt very ashamed of himself because he had always been the kind of man that provided. But then when he saw his children, the way they were playing in the parlor, the way they were happy, he was happy. He did not mind being jobless. He preferred to stay at home with his children and take good care of them than to leave them with a witch who made their life miserable. So later that evening, Kunle and Amaka sat together. They brainstormed. They both decided that Kunle would stay at home to be present for their children and raise the children, while Amaka could go out and work since she earned enough to take care of the whole household. They both agreed that they were never going to be absent parents in the lives of their children anymore. So their house became very peaceful. Kunle began to do school runs. He would help his children with their homework. He even learned how to braid his daughter's hair. Amaka, on the other hand, tried to be more present. She began working from home more often. She stopped traveling as before, and they began to spend quality time with their children during the weekends. And they were once again very happy. One Saturday, while the whole family was eating breakfast, which their dad had prepared, Tolu looked up lovingly at his father and said, "Daddy, this food is so delicious. You're the best maid ever." And they all busted out into laughter. Hi besties, it's your favorite storyteller, Omalicha. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think of parents who do not listen to their children? Like, how can you trust a maid more than your own child? Please share your thoughts with me and please support your home girl, Omalicha, by subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, and sharing with your loved ones. So now, till I come your way again with more interesting stories. Bye!